Muhammad claims to be a prophet around 40 years old, which is 610 AD. And then for the first 13 years, he's preaching a message of monotheism. He's preaching a message of taking care of widows and orphans. He himself was an orphan growing up. His father died before he was born. His mother died shortly thereafter. So he saw the conditions of the underprivileged, and he argued that we should support them and take care of them. That's what his ministry was like for the first 13 years. But when he ultimately fled to Medina, that is when he was able to start fighting. That is when he had an army at his control. And it was that very year that he started launching raids. And from that point till his death, we see a crescendo, an escalation of violence in his life.
And when we talk about violence, you indicate, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Surah 9 as being one of the most violent books or part of the Quran.
Exactly. So the Quran is not in chronological order. So chapter 1 is not the first. Chapter is actually in the 90s is the first one. The last chapter chronologically to have been composed is Surah 9. It is bar none the most violent. It's called Surah al-Bara, which means the chapter of a disavowal. And it's basically disavowing all treaties with polytheists and also with Jews and Christians. And it tells Muslims to fight the unbelievers, to slay the infidels wherever you find them, take them captive and lay siege to them. That's chapter 9, verse 5. Chapter 9, verse 29 says specifically, Jews and Christians, fight them until they are subjugated and pay you money. Why? A few verses later, because Islam has been made to prevail over every other religion. Chapter 9, verse 33. Chapter 9, verse 111 is the one that says, if you die in jihad, you will go to heaven. So it launches Muslims right before Muhammad dies into this undelimited warfare. There was no end in sight. It was just fight. And that's why Muslims were able to conquer 1/3 of the known world. I'm talking from the shores of the Atlantic to the valleys of India within about 150 years.
So where does this idea that this is a religion of peace come from?
The religion of peace, Islam is a religion of peace, is found nowhere in the Quran. It's found nowhere in the Hadith. It's not even really found in any polemical literature, any commentaries until the 20th century. So this is a modern phrase that was invented by people in India who were interacting with British folk. This was before India was reverted to its own control. And so that's where we see the phrase Islam is a religion of peace coming up in interactions between Western culture and Islam, usually when we're talking about polemics and apologetics.
So is it accurate?
Now, how do we mean the phrase Islam is a religion of peace? If we mean that there are peaceful Muslims, no one can argue with that. I would say the vast majority of Muslims in the world are peaceful, and I would say that without hesitation. But if we say Islam is a religion of peace, that's problematic because, again, Muslims are not Islam. Islam is the system. And like I said, Muhammad had been fighting from the first year that he could until he died. And he launched Muslims into battle such that they conquered 1/3 of the known world, and then they kept fighting. From that time until the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Muslims had a significant degree of military control throughout the world. It's really hard to say in any way that Islam is a religion of peace when we're talking about physical peace.